This podcast is meant for mature audiences only and contains strong sexual language. Welcome to Sex, Love, and the Black Experience with your hosts, Miss Kiki Love and Miss Nisha B of Orgasmic Melanin Goddesses. We're just two dope sisters who love to talk about sex and give our amazing guests a platform to share their experiences and expertise as it pertains to sex, love, and the Black experience. So let's get started.
And welcome back, guys. Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, 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 pew. We don't have a machine, so we just go
Yeah.
pew, pew,
We
pew.
just pew, pew, pew 'em all over the motherfucking place.
The true sound effect.
Yes. We just pew, pew, pew everywhere.
Welcome to Sex, Love, and the Black Experience.
With your host, I'm Miss Kiki Love.
And I am Miss Nisha B, and we are the Orgasmic Melanin Goddesses. Pew, pew, pew.
We be pew pewing all over the motherfucking place.
Oh,
And
no,
I love it.
I just love it. It's about celebration. Pew, pew, pew. Okay.
I'm loving it. I'm like, yes, let's pew 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 all over the place. Julian can't stand us. He be like, if y'all don't get the fuck ASAP.
Hey, whatever you do, you got to have fun doing it, right?
Period.
Amen.
And we have a special guest in the motherfucking building.
Means a lot to us.
I'm like, when I tell you, first of all, let me just say this. We just want to say thank you for real. Doctor, yes, we got a motherfucking doctor in the motherfucking building.
Pew, pew, pew. Okay, stop.
Okay?
I'm stop.
We have a doctor in the motherfucking building, y'all. Dr. Vernon T Scott in the building. And I'm just gonna brag on you just a little bit, friend. Yes, just a little bit. So I'm gonna give you this little bio here because I don't normally do this. This is Nisha's job. She was like, "You won't do it, friend." I said, "Okay." Dr. T Scott is from the state of Georgia. He is pursuing a sex coaching certification from Sex Coaching University and earning a second master's degree in marriage and family therapy. He is an advocate for trans rights and fighting against rape culture, which I absolutely love. And we're going to talk about that because I have some things that I want to talk to you about. Okay. And he also hosts a podcast called Heauxliloquy.
Heauxliloquy. Y'all
Okay.
see the he, him, ho.
Yes.
Okay. Hello.
Come on. Yes. Which I am like fucking loving. And he is the owner of Slator Playhouse LLC. And he's also a motherfucking author. Okay, we got a motherfucking author in the building.
Pew, pew.
Stop playing with us. Y'all won't stop playing with us on the day. Okay, we got a motherfucking author in the building. He is the author of Essential Guide on How to Be a Hoe.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, because I'm a hoe. Come on.
Okay.
Come on, where's my copy? Where's my copy, nigga?
So people know it's
Where's
real.
my copy? I absolutely love it. So welcome, without further motherfucking ado, Dr. Vernon T Scott in the building, y'all.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on this New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Yes, I'm happy
You know
to
what I
be
mean? We
here.
ended here on the hoe. Being a hoe.
Right, come
So
on.
we can start the
Look,
Can we start the
start
new year
the-
off right with being a motherfucking hoe? In
and
the
it
building.
started with some whole shit. That's the vibe. Like people be saying
Hello.
New Year, new me. No, it's going to be New Year, same hoe because that's
Same hoe. Hello.
just improved and elevated and healed.
Okay.
I
Okay.
love it. I absolutely love it. So now that we got all of this amazing, delicious, delectable, right, from your bio, can you just tell us a little bit of how you got started in this industry?
Ooh, okay. So just in sex education in general, I've been like looking into that since I was very, very, very young. And it wasn't necessarily like watching porn or anything. It's just trying to figure out what the hell is this thing called sex. And then
Mhm.
having older men in my family try to bring up the topics of, can't be gay. Women out here sleeping with all these other men, or oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, but encouraging me as a young boy to engage in sex. And all these things are not making sense to me. So I was trying to figure those things out and what that looks like. And then even understanding who I am as a sexual being. And ever since then, it's just been like a steady development of growth, understanding, education, and all of that.
Yeah.
I started to pursue my sex culture certification like last year or so.
Mhm.
But I've been helping people. Well, I've been researching rape culture in its entirety since like 2015. But
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
but in terms of like sexual health and focusing on that and providing that as a service for other people, that is something
Mhm.
that's a little bit more recent. And then on top of that, when I learned that sex therapy was a thing, thank you to that show Sex Education, because his
Mhm.
mama's a sex therapist, and that was
Right,
like,
right.
whoa. I was like, that's possible. So that brought me into the journey of going back to school. Almost done, got my last year for marriage family
Congratulations.
therapist. Thank you. And I'm seeing clients, I'm meeting with them, I'm focusing on specializing in sex therapy already. So it's like all coming together, and that's essentially my journey.
That's
Um,
awesome. I got a question around sex therapy because a lot of people don't understand that. Like, what is
Mhm.
that? Like, if
Right.
someone comes to see you for sex therapy, what essentially does that look like?
So it varies. Well, let me start off here. If the therapist, if they're engaging with you in a way of wanting to have sex with you, that's not somebody you need to go see.
Right.
That is like, I don't care if they
Violation.
have right. I don't care if they have the title sex coach or sex therapist. If their goal is to engage in sex with you in order to please themselves, they're not a person that you need to be seeing. But
Right.
a sex therapist helps people who are having any kind of sexual dysfunctions. That can even be erectile dysfunction, vaginismus, meaning painful vaginal sex. It can even be helping people who are dealing with sexual traumas. That's what I'm specializing in, is helping adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse
Mhm.
find themselves, find their own path of sexual healing and ownership of themselves. Um, it helps out with it's helping couples build intimacy with each other, most definitely in the sexual realm. And we
Mhm.
also, well, not we, because I'm not certified yet, but sex therapists also help couples and individuals just gain their footing in their sexuality.
Mhm.
And they also help out with general therapy needs too. So if you're only looking for general therapy that's not dealing with sexuality, you can still see a sex therapist.
Mm.
Many are trained in the modalities to treat the typical disorders too. So
Right. Because most sex therapists is usually like an additional certification to what you're
Mhm.
already doing around therapy, right? So it's just full circle.
exactly.
You're just adding that additional element to it to help people with, like you said, overcoming trauma. Are you finding that a lot? What people don't know is it's so many people that, I mean, it's a lot of
Mhm.
trauma out here. Like it's
Oh
so
yeah.
many people that I run into who have some sexual trauma. Some of them didn't even know. Like it
Right.
came
Mhm.
out later, or they did, or didn't realize they didn't, or they had
They've
it and they didn't
repressed it.
realize that how
Yep.
it's impacting their current sex life with their partner and it's causing problems. Are
Mhm.
you finding that that's happening a lot?
Oh, definitely. That is one of the things that was coming up in my research on rape culture, and
Mhm.
just listening to other stories, watching videos, watching documentaries, looking at articles, hearing case studies, watching case studies, reading case studies. All of those, it's you start to see a trend that
Mhm.
there is a huge number of people who have experienced some form of sexual trauma. And like that's one of the reasons why in my book, that second chapter about consent is to develop that understanding of what consent is and what that looks like, and also for people who may have experienced a violation of their consent that they could recognize, oh, this too has happened to me, because that is one of the things that we don't talk about. And consent is one of those things, unfortunately, that you have to be taught at an older age because so many of our youth and ourselves have not been given that information. And we don't know what that good touch is. We don't know what that bad touch is. And look, even to this day, you have people who don't recognize that they can be sexually assaulted or even have some type of sexual trauma in their relationships with their partners.
Right, yeah. I want to talk about the rape culture part of it too, about what that is, because I'm gonna be honest with you, it's like being younger. When I think back on certain experiences, I realized that I did not give consent.
Right.
And I didn't realize, because sometimes when people think of rape, they just think like straight up like what you watch on TV is like
Mhm.
somebody walking down a dark alley and somebody grabbing them and raping them, or even more so, you could be on a date with them and then they jump on top of you, that type of thing. But there's like, when you talk about consent and how important that is and how it's not taught at a young age, that's why we running into these whole situations we were talking earlier about high school kids, all these cases,
Yep.
because these young people don't understand the meaning of no, or if I gave you consent to do this, that doesn't mean I gave you consent to do that. You still
Yep.
got to ask that. So let's talk a little bit about rape culture, what that is, and how can people, recognize, or what are some of the behaviors so people can start understanding and recognizing what that is. Shit.
So I would say, well, with the rape culture, it's very engraved in our society, in Western society in general, and anything that Western society has touched is there. But I would say, like the basic definition of it is any culture that excuses and provides. It's not. I was about to say excuses again. So it provides excuse and validation and support of sexual violence onto other people, essentially. So it is something that is ingrained in thought processes, actions, behaviors, the way that we speak to each other, the way that we may or may not communicate the consent. Is in the media that we watch. It is everywhere. Some of the things that, well, some of the factors that are within rape culture includes like victim blaming, just believing in rape myths in general. Even if you think about situations where a woman is the victim of sexual trauma or anything like that, how there's that immediate dismissal of her experiences. That's a part of it. Um, what else? It's it's so many things.
It's a lot to
Um,
unpack.
it is.
It's a lot to unpack.
A lot of this too is coming out like with the whole, in the Hollywood
Yeah.
scheme, a lot of things are coming out that were considered, like, what was so deep is they were open secrets.
Yep.
Mhm.
Everybody knew that
What
this
was
shit
going
was
on?
going on,
Right.
but nobody said anything. And now that's coming out. What's the first thing people want to do? Oh, it's a money grab. Oh, she this, you this. You know what I'm saying? As if, excuse my expression, money is not to me, money is not restitution either. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's finding a way. Oh, you didn't go to the police, so you just wanted money. All these different things that we're dealing with
Yep.
when it comes to rape, where the focus is always on the victim and how they went about it.
What was
Mhm.
Even
he
when it comes to
wearing?
men, we
Right.
came across the whole situation with Christian Keys. Like I
Mm.
had to check myself on some things, like, well, why didn't he do this? Or why didn't he, you know what I'm saying? It's like we don't know how people process things and
Mhm.
stuff. So how do you, from when someone comes to you and they've got the secret or they're feeling this for so long, um what's the first thing that we should do as a culture, a community, um in terms of validating what's going on, and also, not victim blaming.
Hmm. I would say the first thing is acknowledging that sexual assault exists,
Mhm.
that it does impact people, and that it
Mhm.
does look differently, as well as in conjunction with that, believing the victim first.
Mhm.
Rather than trying to excuse the actions of the potential victimization or how did you end up in this situation or try to map everything, believe the person when they come to you and then believe them until it's proven that they're not believable. Because we're so busy trying to, like, we're comfortable with innocent until proven guilty, but within that, when it comes to sexual assault, the person is guilty until they're proven innocent.
Mm,
Right. But how do you balance that? Because you'll find a lot of men in those situations, or people in those situations who are accused will say, well, you already have, especially when it comes to public opinion, they're already condemned, right? A lot of times.
Hmm.
Yes, it's innocent till proven guilty. It's believing the victim. How do you balance that? Because again, we do know that some people do lie. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Which is it does a disservice to those who truly are victims.
right.
But how do you say that it was a good way to balance that?
Oh, that's tough.
Right.
Well, first, I would say even you could. It's okay to acknowledge some people lie. Like even in those circumstances where somebody may bring that up in an argument, like, "Oh, this woman, blah 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 blah." It's like, okay, all right, facts. Some women, some men do lie, but what we
Mhm.
don't know is this individual circumstances.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, whoever you are thinking about, whoever may have come to you about something, we're not talking about them. And I get that you might be activated. I get that you may be triggered in this moment. I get that you may feel some type of way and have an opinion about this circumstance. But
Right.
what we can only do is focus on this individual circumstance that's in front of us and not
Mhm.
necessarily connect it to every other incident that exists in this reality,
Right.
because that's unfair to this person in their circumstances. Now, if you're only here to speak on this because you automatically want to blame women for all issues or blame the survivors or victims for all the issues in this world, then
Mhm.
you're not in this space in an honest to have an honest conversation. Your mind is already
Mm-hmm.
made up. And
Right.
it's, I will say the true balance is recognizing which person you're talking to. Because if it's somebody who already has their mind up, you're not going to change their mind until they are ready to be malleable to that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
If it's somebody who's in here in this to have a discussion,
Mhm.
who's willing to empathize with that victim,
Mhm.
it's so much easier to have those
Mhm.
conversations.
Right, you have people that are too far gone. I call them TFG, too far gone. That's even in politics, all kind of stuff, but we ain't gonna go there.
Mhm. Yeah.
It is it when it comes to even just like not even just sexual assault, but just in general, I think of like what happened with Meg the Stallion. Just
Mm.
use that for an example. She was already blamed for all the woes of the black community, right? And I'm like, she was shot though. Like she was shot, nigga. She
And that
was
was facts.
shot.
That was true.
But even with that, people still to this day don't even believe that she was shot. Like that's just insanity to me. Like
Yeah.
that is insane to me. And again, like she had to go on IG like a few weeks ago
Yeah, I
and
saw
like
that.
had to cuss niggas out on her IG. And it's like, y'all are still fucking with me. Like he was proven guilty, nigga. That's why his ass is in jail. And she was like, think about this. If he didn't do it, why did he not get on the motherfucking stand and say, I did not do it. I know who did do it. This bitch here did it.
Mm.
He didn't do it.
And
Right?
he couldn't.
Again, like we have this mentality of not holding certain individuals accountable for the fuckery that they do. And it's like what the fuck is going on with y'all niggas? Like, I don't understand, why do we not hold these powerful people like Diddy? Like, I mean, we've heard the rumors for years
Oh, they've
that
been going on for years.
that this nigga been doing
Even
some
Cosby,
fuckery.
let's be real.
Right.
Cosby, that was an inside thing for
Right.
years. And he was caught interviewed, saying,
Yep.
yeah, Quaaludes, yeah, they
Yeah.
were, like that's the
Yeah,
fun
we
drug.
made excuses.
It's
We
always
made
been around. But
excuses.
again, that comes back to what you said, Vernon,
Right.
about rape culture.
Yep.
Like this is accepted
Yep.
in
Mhm.
society.
Mhm.
Even like I'm
Mhm.
married and
Mhm.
I have my husband and I have consent conversations.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, we are in our, there's still it's like all of the, truly, like we are
Mhm.
really big on consent.
Yep.
It does, like, that is so important to reiterate. Before the expo, because Vernon is going to be a part of our expo.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Our
I'm excited.
Melanated Sex Expo, we're
Yeah.
having a free event, a community event for parents.
Yes.
Dr. Tamara Rose is coming to that event. She's doing a book signing for her book called "It's Not the Birds and the Bees, It's Sex," and it's a community discussion for adults who are parents to talk about how to have the talk with their kids, and consent is going to be the main one. We have to pick up the slack because the schools are not doing it right.
Mm.
um and so like I loved it what you said, that even in relationships,
Yep.
people they may not understand that they could be being violated by their partner.
Mhm.
But they think because I'm obligated to you or I'm married to you,
Right.
I have to do whatever you want me to do. I also want to clarify too, when you talked about like abuse and stuff like that, some people, it was something you said, and I can't remember, because we want to separate something that people misunderstand, like BDSM and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
huge on consent.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yes.
really big on consent. That is totally different
Yep.
from what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Okay. Because I don't want, we definitely want to
We don't want to
separate
get it
that.
to misconstrued up in here about
Like,
that.
shoot, I feel like I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been to BDSM events, um, to dungeons. I've been to lifestyle events, and I feel more safe there than going to a club half the time, because I know that these people are educated. Like
I've
you could,
been violated at bars. I
yeah.
remember this was a long time ago. One of my good girlfriends at the time, she had just turned 48, and we had a birthday party for her. We went to the club, and I was on the dance floor just doing my thing, and it was actually a woman who came up and violated me on the dance floor.
Wow.
Yeah. And she just came up and just grabbed my breast with no kind of ass, nothing. Same thing. Two men went behind and just yeah, on the dance floor.
But
Oh.
that wouldn't happen like in places where consent are very
Right.
big, like
Yeah.
I was saying, like at a dungeon or at like a lifestyle party or
Yeah.
event or something like that. You could literally be naked in the middle of the room and ain't nobody gonna touch you
Right.
without your consent.
Right.
But in a club, you know what I'm
There's
saying, an everyday
violation
thing that's
everywhere.
supposed to be, you know what I'm saying, that's not supposed to be taboo or
Yeah.
whatever, is where most people feel,
Mhm.
due to, like you said, the rape culture, most people feel that they're being violated.
Mhm.
Um, so one person at a time. Let me ask you this: when it comes to our community,
Mm.
Mhm.
um, do you feel like because of this whole toxic masculinity, I feel like in the black male community,
Ooh.
it's so much toxic masculinity. I mean, I'm sure it is the same, there's toxic masculinity in the white, in the white community, but
But
in
we
the
can't
black,
speak. But
I
we
can't
can't
speak
speak to
on
on
that. I
that.
can only speak
Yeah.
to my culture. I find that it is like very prominent. Like when you were saying in the beginning, when your uncles and your family, your male family members were trying to teach you about go out there and have sex, go do this, like these conversations that we are teaching our young men out here.
I look
How,
at someone like a Bootsy, for an example, prime example. Cause you already know where I'm going with this, Vernon. You already know where I'm going with this. I look at someone like Bootsy, right? Little Bootsy, where he is constant, the violation that he's done to his own fucking children, right?
Mhm.
He went on live on Instagram Live and told a story about the first time that he violated his children and literally paid
Hey.
paid a
Mhm.
prostitute to have sex with his 11 and 12-year-old son and nephew, right? Where is the, and everybody's cheering for this shit. Everybody's just like, where the fuck is the applause? Everybody's just applauding the bullshit, right? I'm not taking no goddamn love advice from a nigga that doesn't drink water. Okay,
Amen.
I'm not taking no goddamn love advice from a nigga that drinks Hennessy in the fucking morning and smokes a blunt. Like, get the fuck out of here. You talking about somebody else's children when your own kids don't even fucking respect you. Your kids is on
Yeah.
violation on Instagram Live, calling you all kind of niggas on Instagram Live. You see what I'm saying? So again, where do we draw the line with our men, and how can we fix this, Vernon?
Ooh, child, you need
I know we
all
coming
the
in with some
space in the
crazy.
We
world
coming
to
We
in,
got all
we
the
explain.
coming in
questions.
deep. I
Don't
told
be
you.
coming in with you. Hey,
Child,
you the doctor.
I'm, I'm just saying, I'm trying to. I am not Jesus. I am not the universe.
I know, but you're also a black man who can
I
tell
got
from
you.
your give. You can also give us from your experience. We're not
Yes.
expecting.
And
This is really
I
us just
know.
having a conversation. That our people are so important to us, and I
We
deal
love
with
them.
toxic masculinity, and I'm
Right.
sure you had to deal with it growing up when
Hmm.
determining who you are, and what kind of man you gonna be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He
and
said,
it's
"I'm not Jesus."
wild because look, but like, so this came up in my research when I was doing my dissertation, and there's for any person who doesn't know what hegemony is essentially the dominant narrative, the dominant culture within wherever we're going. So like here we have the Western civilization as the hegemony. Those thought process, those beliefs, all of that, that is our hegemony. And
Mhm.
whenever it comes to marginalized citizens, marginalized people tend to have to think about it in the education environment
Mhm.
uh, to help people understand how I'm going somewhere. So, whenever you're in education, people are told, most definitely if you're in the minority group, that you have to work twice as hard, right? Sometimes three
Mhm.
times as hard. And because of that, you strive to do better, though you're not being seen. That mentality also happens when it comes to adopting the beliefs of those within uh, from the hegemony. So,
Mhm.
if rape culture and toxic masculinity is one of those factors of rape culture, if you're already adopting in if you're behaving in school three times is better than the people who can do the bare minimum, because it is their culture. When you associate the rape culture side of that and the toxic masculinity, what do you think is going to happen? The people who are trying to fit in into that culture, they're going to overextend themselves in
Mhm.
order to make themselves relevant in
Mhm.
that culture. So you have a belief set that this is what a man is supposed to be. We already don't see you, black man, as being a human being. We don't see you as being a representation of this mindset of this culture. And the only way that you can be there is if you outperform in
Mhm.
what that culture is supposed to be. So that's why you do see a large number of toxic masculinity within the black community, regardless of gender identities, because we're all trying to put on that facade, put on that identity to match or assimilate into this culture. Because
Mhm.
this
Mm.
is what's okay. This is what I can do to be successful. And the only way I can do that is to be closer to the whiteness, to be closer to the hegemony.
Oh, that's
So
good.
that's why
I
you
never
do
thought about
see
it like
so
that.
much. Like even because the my research specifically talked about Asian men, how whenever Asian people come into this country, they start to adopt the culture itself.
Mm-hmm.
and be a part of
That
it,
that
that's
model
when.
my that model my myth.
Mhm,
Yeah, that they do that in the Asian culture. They have that model minority myth, right? In the Asian culture, where they have to adopt whiteness
mhm,
as, you know what I'm saying? When you think of other minority groups, right? Asians are at the top of when it comes to the model minority myth, and they have the respectability politics,
mhm,
right? In that, we as Black people are always at the bottom of the totem pole, even though we were been here way before anybody else, right? So we are at the bottom of the totem pole. When you think uh of the quote unquote who is the best citizen, right? Is out of all the other races besides Caucasian, it is Asian. That's
mhm,
crazy. That is
mhm.
absolutely crazy. And I never even thought about it like that.
Yeah, and something that's even more interesting if you think about the family dynamics of the Black community, there was a lot more healthier versions of masculinity, even when it came to the approach of inclusion of religion in it, because religion itself has its own teachings that move people to be more narcissistic as well as portraying toxic masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say around the 50s, prior to MLK and all of that, the relational dynamics between Black families was a lot more healthier. It doesn't mean that there wasn't any abuse or anything like that that was going on, but the dynamics were a little bit more healthier, where women were seen as being contributors in the home as well as outside of the home, and so were those who were men were contributors inside of the home and outside of the home too. So it was a lot more of a partnership versus I own my partner.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And I and personally it's not necessarily documented, but I see the shift um, in terms of like media, the ways that people approach themselves, or even the generations that I've spoken to. I see a lot of that shift happening when Blackness had to be a lot more respectable versus a lot more civil. Well, fighting for civil rights to moving to being the respectable Negro a lot more broadly.
Mm. So how do you think in that instance then how do you think that's impacted like in raising young men? Like do you feel like in that time or that it was more even in terms of because I mean there still was that toxic masculinity I'm sure
Hmm.
at that time. It's still now even in media like you got Lil Boosie and all these rappers, the
mhm.
music,
Hmm.
the lyrics, all these different things. Um I remember dating a guy and he was crying to me and had emotional issues. And I suggested to go see a therapist. And he said, niggas don't go get therapy. I was
Right.
like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. So you can't fix your problem and you don't want to go outside of yourself because niggas don't seek get therapy. You know what I'm saying? All these, you being a black man, because I've raised a young black man too. And just the whole thing about um you know how y'all supposed to appear and be like you were saying as a black man. I used to get upset because I had friends who had daughters and they would tell me I was lucky that I had a boy because I didn't have to worry about him, out here getting pregnant. I said, but I got to worry about him getting somebody pregnant. Like
Hmm.
we never think about we raise our boys differently. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? It's like, oh, he went out there and had some sex, that a boy, but then they'll lock their daughter up in a tower like she, you know what I'm saying? Like she Rapunzel.
Yep.
And it's like you never think that your young men are still going out there impacting the lives of young women. It's
Hmm.
okay that they can go and get those girls pregnant, but you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But you don't, and you because you don't care about the outcome of it, and
Hmm.
it's still a child coming into this world, another black child. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Coming into this world. So I actually taught my son that I was like, your penis, is precious too.
Mhm.
Don't be sticking your penis in everybody. Everybody don't deserve your penis. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas a lot of young men are not being taught that.
Mhm.
It's frustrating to me because I have a son and a daughter. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, why would you not treat them the same? Why would you want your child to just go and sleep with everybody?
Mhm.
But your daughter can't. They're sleeping with other people's daughters. You don't put that in perspective.
I
And
wasn't, just like we talked about, just like earlier, I wasn't allowed to date when it was appropriate, right? During that time of, courting and things like that in my teenage years. I wasn't allowed to date. My mother wasn't going for that. But my brothers, oh, it was Wild Kingdom.
right.
Like what again, like my middle brother got a girl pregnant at 17. My baby brother got a girl pregnant at 14.
Mhm.
It's totally different. So like
It's a different, how black people raise their sons is completely different than how they raise their daughters. We are not allowed to be, again, I've said this numerous of times, we're not allowed to be sexual the way that
Mhm.
men are allowed to be sexual. Women are not allowed to have that autonomy. Like again, and I use Meg the Stallion because this is a perfect analogy. I use Meg the Stallion for this. When they went to court, they went in and
all
looked
her
up her,
personal
all of her sexual history was on display.
Mhm.
What does that have to do?
with the fact that she
She
got
got
shot.
shot.
Exactly.
What the fuck does that have to do? If she slept with so and so and so and so, she still got shot, nigga. Fuck is wrong with you niggas?
And,
Like
Right.
she got shot. I need niggas to understand that this black woman got shot.
and
She
there
got shot. She got whole bullet fragments still in her foot, still to this day. Like I
Mhm.
don't understand. So what the fuck does her sucking and fucking this dude over here has to do with the fact that she got shot? Nothing.
And there's a thing that's another part of that rape culture thing, the slut shaming, and
Mhm.
that's
Come on.
essentially the thing that's going on. Because once you can paint a woman specifically as a slut, that invalidates her victimization, that invalidates
Right.
the empathy that most people want to have for them. Like literally,
Right.
to this, one of the things that I was researching, like when it comes to receiving services, be it therapy or
Mhm.
um, let's say medical services, that if you were to call somebody a prostitute, the therapists or the worker is not going to give them any true empathy because they feel like whatever they experience they deserve. Now if you were
Mhm.
to call them a victim of sex trafficking, because the victim is there, they're more empathetic to them and treat them like they're human because they
Mhm.
can see them as a victim rather than someone who's choosing to put them, the victim blaming thing. So
Right.
like all of those things are present, and even to go off of like the because a lot of that mentality about the boy sexuality versus female sexuality, a lot of that stems from the religious side of rape culture.
Mhm.
And one of the things I would add, that too is a double standard on both parts. Like
Mhm.
Yes.
for men are given the freedom to express their sexuality as much as they want, so long as that sexual expression is towards women. And
Right.
Ooh,
then
come on. Come
on
on.
the
Come on. Come
then
on. Now we
on the
cooking.
other
Now we cooking.
side, for women, they are isolated. They're unable to provide the freedom of expressing their sexuality. However, they do get the freedom to intertwine however they wish with other women. That
Mhm.
permission is always given, so long as that woman ends up with a man.
Right.
Ooh.
That's deep. It's so that you brought up something that we talked about this before. We watched
Yep.
the episode of um we had talked about what's the Issa Rae show. What was it called?
Oh, insecure.
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 Yeah.
So her friend was dating a guy and they were talking about their experience in college. And she talked about how
Yes.
she had experience
Chile.
with a girl
Yep.
in college. And then he was like, "Yeah, me too." He had an experience with a guy, and then he realized that I think he realized that wasn't for him or whatever. But
Mhm.
he also experimented in college, just like women
Right.
do. And then next thing you know, she ain't want to fuck with him no more.
Right.
Like,
Just
ugh.
that one time, one experience.
But
Just
women can do it all day
Right.
long. I have a problem with that too. It's like
Yep.
women, like these men, just again, the times with like, oh yeah, hell yeah,
Yeah.
bring another woman in. I even see it in like the poly and the lifestyle aspect. I'm in different groups, and all they want is that third, that unicorn. It's all
Yep.
about that woman bringing
Yep.
her in. And sometimes you wonder half the time, because I've had conversations with people, the wife don't even want it really. She only doing it for the husband. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? But the moment that the woman says, well, I want to experience with a man, you know, aren't we lifestyle? Aren't we this? Aren't we that? It's a hell
Time
no.
motherfucking
Yeah.
out.
I'm just like, so
You can't have two dicks in the room now. You can't be.
but it's on both sides.
Like,
Like how she didn't want to fuck with him no more because
Right.
he had an experience with a man.
right,
Now he's damaged goods.
right.
You know, even though he's dating you and says now that he wants to be with you. And then the other thing is like, you got like, it's this toxicness. And even in the lifestyle poly world or whatever, where it's like, the girl could be with a woman, all the women they want to be. But you know what I'm saying? But no, we ain't bringing no man in the bedroom. We ain't doing that. It's like, so she can't get the pleasure. Only you can get, you know, she can only get pleasure from another woman, but only you can be the man to give her pleasure.
Again.
You know what I'm saying? It's a hot mess. I say it all
Again,
the
and
time.
I say this all the time, right? Because and I have to use these people because it again it goes back to what we've been talking about. Again, you have no problem with two women. I remember
On video.
Normani, right? I remember Normani being on stage with Tiana Taylor, and they was doing a little, little scissors.
Was it
little
Normani or Kaylani?
No,
'Cause
it
I know
was
Kaylani
Armani.
Oh, okay.
It was Normani. She was on stage at the VMAs. She was performing, and she brought Tiana Taylor on stage. They had no problem with them doing a little humpty bump, bumpity bump, 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 bump. They had no problem with that. All the men were like, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about." But when Little Nas X, do you see where I'm going with this? He kissed that man on stage at the BET Awards. It was hell on earth. All these niggas came out the woodwork. The kids, it's always the children. Oh, my kids can't watch you. Your kids are diabolical. Your kids don't even drink water, nigga. Stop playing with me, okay?
Child.
Your kids don't even drink green juice. Like, stop playing with me. You don't give a fuck about your children until it affects your masculinity, nigga. That's
Amen.
it. Period.
Amen. Like it is literally fuck them kids until I have a reason to bring them into the situation to make a
Right.
point. Like my thing is, if your kids matter to you already, they probably wouldn't even been watching the VMAs because you know it's for adults anyway. So why are you not?
Why are you having your kids watch the BET Awards anyway? Why are you having your kids watch the VMAs anyway? Fuck them kids. It's always fuck the kids. It's always fuck the children until it matters and it affects you and your masculinity.
Yeah.
It's always that bullshit. And I was hearing the talks from the TIs and the this and the that. Oh, why he had to kiss old boy on the mouth? He didn't have to do that. Nigga, why do you care? He's not kissing you, nigga.
Chill. Why you had to say T.I.? That's a dumbass motherfucker. That nigga is so fucking dumb. Oh my god, he is so fucking annoying. Just because you have, I'll be honest, he got a great vocabulary. Yes, nigga, you got dictionary, your word a day. You adopting that shit,
ran
but
up
you
the
not using
course
it.
in jail. That's what he did. That's all he did.
Like,
Period.
that nigga. Oh, but yeah, like whenever I don't. The thing that really bothers me with most definitely the celebrities who jump out of the woodworks every time some gay shit happens that's actually male centered is like there's so many other things that exist in this world that you can be talking about
Mm.
There's so many other things that you can be supporting, fighting against. Guess what? Somebody, let's use Ti, and I live in Atlanta. So Ti, why is it that the homeless population, most definitely the Black queer population, as well as Black women population, and as well as young Black men who are heterosexual, are on the streets, and you're not doing anything about it? Since you care about the youth, since you care about the Black
Yeah,
community
you
so
care about
much,
the
but
kids.
you talking all this shit every time you see some queer motherfucker kissing somebody else or just loving on themselves. You have all the shit to say then, but you have nothing to say about what your city is doing. Why is it that you don't talk about Cop City, Ti? What's going on there? You have a whole Black
They had
community
all
that's
this
like,
mouth for Dwayne Wade's and Gabrielle Union's daughter, Zaya. All this mouth for Zaya. And Lil Boosie, again, I gotta use that nigga because it's relevant.
he's
They
gay.
had all this mouth for Zaya, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what she's been and being a trailblazer, and I'm so proud of Zaya for speaking in her truth, for being a part of her truth, right? You have all this mouth, and again, the kids, it's always the children, but what about your children, Bootsy? Your kids are literally saying fuck you on Instagram.
They hate you.
Right?
I don't even, when it comes to a lot of this pop culture, I don't know a lot of it. Kiki follows a lot of the
because I
pop
be
culture.
like,
I
this
see
is
like
some
every now
bullshit.
and then things pop up, and I'd be like, what the hell is going on with this
'Cause it's
people? I get so
bullshit.
upset in the entertainment industry. I used to be part of that. And I was talking to somebody because they was like, do you regret that you didn't do it? And I'm like, not really. You know, I do want to get back into the entertainment field and acting, but I'm also much more mature now. At 20 or 18, ain't no telling, you know, what I would have been a part of then, especially because that industry was already eating me up, telling me I was too fat and I was way smaller than I am now. But I know we kind of got into the deep thing about this, but I want to talk about being a hoe.
Come
Oh,
on.
Like, I want to talk
My
about the
favorite
No,
subject.
the reason why I want to go there is because I know we talked about the rape culture, we talked about the negativity, but why is it good to be a hoe? Why is it okay?
so
I'm sorry, it's
go
okay. I
ahead.
got real excited about that. It's the whole that whole feeling was coming out. Go ahead, let's talk about it.
So I need to find it. I need to bookmark this damn page, and I also need to memorize my own definition that I wrote in my own book. Like that's trash of me, but like for me, being a hoe is something completely positive. Like I remember growing up and people telling me, and this is also what I talk about in the first chapter, but people telling me that a hoe is something bad, that is somebody who's having sex with a lot of people, all these negative things. And I'm
Right.
like, how is this necessarily bad if you're telling me as a young man that I need to be doing these exact same things that you're saying that these women are? It's not making sense to me. And double standards don't work for me, okay?
Right.
Because when you do linear logic, if it doesn't make sense in this scenario and it does make sense in this scenario and the actions are exactly the same, it is not logical. It's very illogical. So that's why double standards I just can't do. But the definition that I have, so a hoe is any individual, regardless of gender identity, who chooses to live a sex positive lifestyle free of the judgment and shame of outside influencers and embraces and owns the full extent of their sexuality.
Come
That part.
on.
Hello.
Mhm.
And why is it anybody's business that you want to that you the hoe that you are if you ain't hurt nobody?
I tell him
Exactly.
I'm a hoe for my husband. I'm gonna be a hoe for my husband.
I'm
Amen.
a
I'm a hoe.
50-year-old hoe.
Period.
Okay.
Be a hoe.
And it took me a minute to get there
Okay.
because I was
Yeah.
so concerned about the judgment of other people.
Mhm.
That's
Worrying
why
about
I
what other
love your
people
definition.
worrying about
Now
what
I
other
don't give a damn.
motherfucking worrying about what other motherfuckers think about you is like and again it took her a long time, and I'm so proud of her for getting to this level of not giving a fuck,
Yes.
because that not giving a fuck energy,
It's so freeing.
it's a freeing mother. I'm like,
Is
friend,
it
why do
free,
you
Vernon?
care?
Is it
It's so
free?
free. Look,
Oh
I
my
tell
God, it's so
people,
free.
I
And
be
I
telling
tell her all the
people,
time, friend, why do you care? Why do you give a fuck?
Like my friends
Yeah.
will tell you real quick, I'm not afraid to be like, oh, that sounds like a you problem, not a my problem,
Yeah.
because you coming to me with some shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm living my life, I'm enjoying my life, and you just bringing shit that's
Yes.
not dealing with me.
I love
Like
it.
when
Yeah.
people like hit me up and all this other stuff, and they call me a hoe, I'm like, thank you. Like,
Right.
what is that supposed to do to me? Because guess what? I am enjoying the sexual experiences that I'm having. Are
Hello.
you? Because I'm walking outside not feeling judged about what the fuck I just did. Now, I'm not going to say I haven't had some good ass sex that I'm just in my feelings and I'm just like, whew, you are a dirty slut. Oh my God. How?
Ain't nothing wrong with
I
that.
need somebody to just call me a Jezebel right quick because the
Hello.
thing that you just did,
Yeah.
it was unholy. It
Hello.
was
But
unholy.
it was delectable and it was delicious.
And it was, and I'll do it again.
Right. You
Period.
had a moment, you be like, oh, that was just so dirty, but
It was good.
can I please have some more?
More
What's it? Yes, please, may I have some
some
more,
more.
sir?
Listen, listen.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. Let me tell you what's so funny. My best friends that I've known for 20, 30 plus years, they applaud me. Like literally, like they like, oh my God. Some of them even are like, damn, I wish I was where you are. I can't really, I don't really, But they're like, I love that you live in your truth. I love that you live in your best life. You seem very happy. Like people can see that
Yep.
in
Mhm.
me. And so people who I thought that were going to be quick to judge me or say some shit, they be like, do you? And then when stuff come up or articles or events, I think they be like, oh, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, that's my girl Nisha. She like that, or she, you know what I'm saying? Like they applauded, which I thought was going to be the opposite. I really thought that I was going to be a
Mhm.
pariah to certain people, but they applauded.
I get that. Like, I know some people have approached me on the same tip, and sometimes what I tell them is like, why are you choosing not to experience this freedom? Like,
Right.
right now, if you can recognize that I'm living a happier life and I'm feeling free because of that, it's one of those things is, are you willing to make the choice to change the things that's not working for you? Like,
Hello.
and there's been plenty of times when I've been talking to people and they're just like, "Oh, how have you gotten to that place?" I'm like, "Yo, just go get my book because I
Mhm.
don't have all the time to give it to you, and I'm not your
Right.
therapist." But at the same
Right.
time, if we're having a quick conversation, I'm like, the first thing I did was stop giving a fuck what other people said. If you're
Mhm.
ready to be on that point, then you're halfway there.
Mhm. It's very freeing. Um, Also, like I feel like even before, like my experiences are better too because I don't feel the
Mhm.
shame and the guilt afterwards. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And what I did, like you do something, I wasn't supposed to do that because they say, good girls not supposed to,
Right.
and black women we represent because like I don't know what it is about us as black folks. It's like even in movies, like
Mhm.
everything we do, it has to be pristine. It has
Yep.
to it can't have a stain on it. Like black people never been crackheads or nothing like that. That's why I hate in the movie industry, like NAACP, all these different organizations, they always want to put down movies that show or shed a bad light on black people, but it's like we are not a monolith. White people for
Mhm.
years they've been crackheads, killers, murder, all these things in movies. It's the same thing even in our sexuals. Like it's like you can't do that because you represent a race of people, and for so long, it's like really decolonizing sex
Mhm.
basically because for so long our bodies were in our own and we were treated this way and they treated us like hoes, so now we have to be dignified and be this way, and it's like I don't represent everybody. This is me. This is what I like.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Why I gotta represent the whole race and now I gotta be a
Exactly.
damn nun and
Exactly.
not
Like,
get none? Hell no.
exactly. Like I know I'm black, but I'm not here to represent all y'all. I could only represent myself.
Hello.
And if you
You're not gonna
support
put
the
that on
things
my
that I'm doing,
shoulders. That's a lot of weight.
it's a
That's a
lot of
lot of
weight.
fucking weight
And
to
what
Yeah.
be
I
putting on one nigga's shoulders. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
look, and if I have to carry that weight, and I'm going to tell all these motherfuckers, it's time for y'all to do the same thing, so y'all can get the fuck off of my shoulders. Because we're
Period.
not going to. I don't give one flying half of a fuck about what a white person got to to think about what the fuck my black ass got to do, because what we're not going to do is be the coon for these niggas, because I'm going to do me.
Hello.
And I'm going to be fucking, okay? And if you don't want that, if you don't like that, then you don't have to come in my motherfucking bedroom, because what happens in there is good sex. And if you're
Hello.
not bringing that, why are you even here? Like, there's
Hello.
bad sexual opportunities for you all over these apps. There's bad sexual activities that you can get into just by meeting somebody down the street. You do not have to engage with me.
Right. It's empowering too. Being a hoe, from your, based on your definition, it's empowering. It also makes you realize that your pleasure is a priority.
Yep.
I never felt that way. You know, being in relationships and all that kind of stuff, it was like as long as he got off, I never was vocal enough to say I like this, or no, I don't like when you do that. Can you do this?
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's work through this together. I didn't feel as empowered to do that. It was just like, well, he got off, you know, I guess I gotta figure out a way to do my own thing. So to me, being a hoe is very empowering.
And like, this is one of the reasons why I enjoy working with Black women, and I think I might have a bad like image with their partners, because I'm going to encourage you to vocalize your needs, express your needs, set healthy boundaries, communicate that, put your pleasure first and all of that. And guess what? If their partner is not willing to provide that for you, it's time for you to go back on the market. Like, because you can only go so far with the person if they're not willing to change for you. And if they're stuck in their way, all right, deuces. Find the person that's going to please you the way that you want to be pleased. And that's just a healthier way and a happier way to live your life. Now, I get, if you might be letting some good dick go, I get it. You know, do what you got to do, but secure your next spot in the way you need to do it.
It's not a good dick, but it's not. I mean, don't get. I'm not. Sex is not the end all be all, but pleasure is important, and you can't. If you live in a sexless marriage or whatever, and sometimes like your partner, you know, we all have different cultures. We call from different things. You might be at this level and they might be a little bit, you know, down here, but it's about having that conversation. It's about the communication. It's about opening up. And there might be, and then are you willing to compromise? Like they might be like, you know, I can go here, but I don't know if I can go here. And so, you know, that's where it's just really about opening up the lines of communication. You're not going to always, I wouldn't necessarily say throw the baby out with the bathwater. You got a great relationship and everything, but you do have to be vocal. And a lot of women, especially Black women, we are not vocal about what we want in the bedroom. And
that's tragic.
because we feel like, we're not supposed to. Like we're supposed to,
and that's a black ass lie from the pit of lies. And I'm not going, and I don't subscribe to that bullshit.
Right.
No, you won't please me, nickel. Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, I got things for you, nickel. So you get the mic drop, because that's my shit. Get the mic drop and put it on there and handle it. Cause I gotta come too, nigga.
But then
that's something to do.
That's a lot of work that we have to do in terms of the whole toxic masculinity,
about
men being, you know, a men unlocking that softer side, being open to really pleasing their partner and not letting it be all about them. So there's a lot to unpack.
It's layers to this shit
in that. And so let's talk about your podcast.
Yes.
Like what is it about? Like what is your mission in there? What do you talk about on your podcast? Heauxliloquy.
Well, before I get into that, I just wanted to bring one more thing back to this, because this book is actually written for Black men.
Oh,
and awesome. That's the fun thing. But it's still helpful for all people. I wrote it in such a way that it's kind of genderless, but the purpose of it is to help unravel that toxic masculinity and be comfortable and exploring a lot more sexual things with your partner.
Much needed.
Because it's not always up to your partners to be the one that's pleasing you. You should be willing to please them as well. But you also have to recognize that the way that they express their sexuality may not align with yours, and being malleable or open to a lot more of what they want It's perfectly
Mhm.
fine. Like
Mhm.
if your partner wants to peg you and you might be open to that, go ahead and do it. Like, and it's within your relationship and your relationship alone. Doesn't mean that you're gay.
And
Doesn't
that
mean
doesn't make you gay if
that,
you having it. Stop. Oh God, go ahead. I just
yeah. Yeah.
that is my pet peeve because people
Exactly.
they intertwine identity with, you know what I'm saying? I mean that
Hmm.
identity, sexual preference or orientation with an act, a sexual act.
Hmm.
If you are with a female partner, you're a male and they're pegging you, you still, you know, that doesn't make you gay.
No,
Exactly.
That makes
no.
you understand that your, you know what I'm saying, with your P spot and that you like that
Hmm.
pleasure. Oh
Exactly. And
God,
Literally,
it's
is
perfectly
literally,
fine.
your
It's good.
rectum has the G spot in there. That's how you know God is a woman, and she really played a trick on y'all niggas because she really fucked y'all up, and y'all don't even understand.
yeah.
Like some bullshit, but I love it though. I love it.
Yeah, we're
So
gonna have you we're gonna let you you know, give it where people can order your book and stuff. But let's talk about your
yes,
podcast too,
Yes,
and where
yes,
people can
yes.
yes.
find that. And like how did you come about doing the podcast? What is it? What is the purpose for it? And you know, what do you talk about?
So the podcast, it's a sex podcast. The focus is just educating the community about all aspects of sexuality. Like I have over 20 or so topics to choose from, and
Mm-hmm.
every single episode within those topics are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Because it shows how sexuality is so various. It's a
Right.
variety of ways of doing it. Like let's say if it's like anal play, you
Mm-hmm.
can have a topic about anal play, and you're going into sex toys. You're going into fucking penetrative with a penis, like you know, gay sex or what have you. But there's also a digital anal play. There's also if you are into electro play, you have that you can do. There's analingus, all these other aspects of it that you can have in-depth conversations about. So the
Mm-hmm.
podcast is a space to give, it provides a safe space for these conversations to happen in an
Mm-hmm.
educational way.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all
Thank you for
about
that.
this. Yeah, it's not all about the sexual experiences because I've listened to sex podcasts and they're great, they're wonderful. But all of the ones that I've listened to over the years, they're always talking about, oh, how I engaged in sex with this person, how I fucked this person, how I'm
Mhm.
having sex. But where's the education behind it?
Thank
Like,
you.
Right,
That's why I said thank you, because
right.
you find there's a lot of people out here with these sex podcasts and there's no education on there whatsoever.
mhm,
It's just their
Um,
experiences on how they, oh nigga, I had sex like this and with this and da, 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 da,
mhm,
but
and that
there's
part
no
is left out. It's all
right.
about opinion and it just gets really convoluted and then it adds to the confusion around
Yeah.
sex sexuality. So the fact that you're educated, you
Mhm.
bring on people who are educated, you
Right.
have that conversation. We definitely applaud you for that. Kiki and I, we don't this podcast, we consider ourselves sex positive advocates. So we
Yeah.
bring people on like you and other
Mhm.
people. That's why the reason why we do our expo too, because we're just bringing, we're putting the people together. We're bringing the audience and then we're bringing the experts
mhm.
together. Just they just happen to look like us, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
But because I'm glad you brought that up. That's why I want people to know your podcast because we really want to promote people who are actually talking about something and it's not just
Mhm,
their opinion and they're not educated and they saying some of the most outlandish crazy shit.
mhm. And
Cause,
I've heard some of those.
listen, cause listen. We follow a lot of these sex podcasts, and no shade to them. Absolutely no
Yes,
shade. We
yes.
love them. They're amazing. But a lot of it is a bunch of. I'm just like, I sat up here and I watched the podcast clip of, and again, I'm not gonna say their name. Um, but it was men, and the conversation was around sexual uh contraception, and They were like, well, I thought that the pussy just has it cleans itself and you don't need to rinse off the toy, and you can use it with other people, and
Oh
and
God.
you can just use the used condom on another pussy, and just, I'm like, what is going
So
on?
that's why Heauxliloquy is important.
I
You know what I'm
can't.
saying?
I'm like, what the fuck are you? And I'm like, and I'm literally in the view shot, and I'm doing a remix of the clip, and I literally put B condoms in the thing. I'm like, listen, if you don't get a motherfucking B condom and stop playing around, shout outs to B condoms because
Yeah.
they're
Pew,
fucking good.
pew.
Pew, pew, pew,
Look,
pew, pew. You
my
know,
whole bag is right over here. Let me go ahead
come
and dig
on,
up
hoe
in
Oh, you
here.
bag.
got it. Okay.
I
We love
keep
a
my
good
whole
hoe
bag
bag.
because you
I'm
know
Love
still
that.
in
I'm
my
still
whole bag I do keep my bees. I
yes,
do keep my bees.
yes, yes.
That's-
They
There's
were our sponsors last year, and we hope they're gonna be our sponsors for next year.
Yeah.
Yes, we love
look,
B condoms.
So how can people find your podcast?
Yes.
my podcast is on just about all wherever you find your podcast content, you can find the Heauxliloquy Podcast.
Okay.
Period.
We'll put all that in the notes too,
Yes.
so that people can we'll put all of your podcast and your where can people find your book?
You can find my book on Amazon by searching the Essential Guide on How to Be a Hoe, or if you Google How to Be a Hoe, it will pop up as well.
Awesome. Okay.
Well, eventually, will you have it on Audible?
Oh, eventually, that is the goal. That is the
Okay.
goal. That's one of the things
Get in the
I hope to
studio.
do. Yeah, within the next year.
Yes.
Or have Morgan Freeman do it.
Look,
How to be a hoe.
Yes. Come on. Come on. I love it. Because I want to
oh,
listen to it.
I
I'm
love
like, yeah. They be like, what you listening to? How to be a hoe. How to be a hoe. How to be a better hoe. Because I'm already a hoe. But I need to know how to be a better one.
So Vernon, we're gonna
Yes.
tell everybody your all your social media. We're gonna put
Yes.
it down in the show notes too.
it. Mhm.
And but we want you to just tell people where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at your fave host, and that's spelled URFAV, and host is HEAUXST. I'm also on TikTok under the same name. Those are essentially the only social media that I'm using right now.
I know I'm old. I'm still on Facebook. we still, everybody be like, "Oh, that's because you old." Only the old people go on your Facebook. Also, you guys, Vernon is going to be at the Melanated Sex Expo
Yes.
teaching a
am.
class on what is it called? You bring it
Um,
out.
we are going to be talking about narratives and sexuality, kind of like
Yes.
sexting. If you want to know how to sex with your partner and get it hot and heavy, so come on out and learn how to sex. Get
Or how
that.
to write fiction if you want to do
Mhm.
erotic fiction. So we have a variety of classes, and so we are so
Yes.
blessed. Vernon is all the way in Atlanta coming in,
Yes.
doing this. And so why did you feel like it was important for you to be a part of the Melanated Sex Expo?
Okay, first and foremost, black. But I also feel like it is a environment that provides Black people with a safe space to be Black as well as be sexual. And
Mhm.
for me, that just means all the world because there's not too many spaces for that.
Mhm.
Granted, it is changing slightly, but it's not changing fast enough. Um,
Yes.
but just having the opportunity to meet and educate and learn
Mhm.
about Blackness, sexuality, and how that intertwines, it was just like I had to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And we can't wait to meet you in person.
Yep.
Thank you for taking the time on New Year's Eve to join our
Yes.
podcast. And this is Dr. Vernon T Scott. We are so
Yes.
excited. You have just watched another episode of Sex, Love, and the Black Experience with the Orgasmic Melanin Goddesses.
Period.
And thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, Vernon.
Thank you, Vernon.
I know we
Thank
talked about a
y'all.
lot of shit.
Thank you for watching Sex, Love, and the Black Experience podcast. Please continue to tune in and keep watching. And follow us at omgoddesses.com, join our VIP list, or Facebook and IG at omgoddesses20 and Twitter at omgoddesses.